we continue our examination of the truths of Jesus' life and ministry. Truths that were true in the day of Jesus' life, true in the life of Matthew, and scholarship says that Matthew created his gospel. I use the word created in the literary sense, not in the sense of out of nothing. That Matthew created this gospel to speak to his church and his concerns as a pastor for his church. And those truths are still true for us today. We are going to be looking in this portion at Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 to 51. I'm reading from the New King James Version, New Testament. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, but my Father only. But as in the days of Noah were, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving up in marriage until the day after Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man be. Then two men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master made ruler over the household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant when his master, when he comes, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come at a day when he is not looking for him, and an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him in two, and will appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When theology goes overboard on a point, there will be an opposing overreaction. Now, let me use this point, in this point here, do a quick study of the doctrine of Mariology. And here we can look at both the Orthodox tradition and the Roman Catholic tradition. Now, understand, as a Protestant, I obviously have my views on Mary, influenced by my Protestant theology. But what I want to look at here is in particular Catholic development and Catholic doctrine. And while the Orthodox tradition venerates Mary, there is a sense in which some of the excesses that you find in the Catholic tradition are not to be found. Which is not to say that as a Protestant I will agree with the Orthodox teaching on Mary and the Virgin Mary in particular, we would say. But I would say that there is a distinction between all three theological traditions, Protestant, Orthodox, and Roman Catholic. In the early church, there first emerges the idea of Mary as a virgin perpetually. And so one of the ways that this issue begins to arise and begin to be addressed is the question of, did Mary actually have children? So you go back into the biblical text and find that Jesus has brothers and sisters, and we go, whoops, that wasn't quite right. They didn't quite get it right. That what actually happened is that Joseph, we could in one way say this was married in a second marriage to Mary, and he brings his whole brood along from his first marriage to his second marriage. We can allow Mary to still be a virgin. Or what we say is, that those names and people mentioned there, well, they were really cousins of Jesus. The biblical writer just got a little bit confused there. Jesus was an only child, therefore, because Mary only had one child. Mary remains a virgin after Jesus' birth. In 1854, there is the approval of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, a doctrine which holds that Mary is free from the taint of original sin. So what we're saying is in 1854, the Roman Catholic tradition makes a major step forward in terms of its understanding of Mary and creates this new doctrine. In 1950, the Roman Catholic Church proclaims as doctrine the Assumption of Mary, the belief that Mary, body and soul, ascends to heaven at death. Now, what I find fascinating in all of this is understand, obviously as a Protestant, I don't get it. I'll be upfront on that. But what I'm talking about is how a speculation on Mary leads to another speculation on Mary, and in turn leads to more speculation on Mary, and eventually we have even more speculation on Mary. In other words, it's piling on. And it's only possible because that speculation on Mary, as it were, gets out of control and is unchecked. And so when I look at Mary in the Catholic tradition, what emerges is the original superhero. Who knows? Marvel may be looking to do another movie. Here's a superhero they can use. In the Protestant tradition, Mary has taken on an almost pariah status. We don't want to touch her with a 10-foot pole, so to speak, because Mary is tainted by the doctrines and developments within the Catholic tradition, which we look at with repugnancy. And so we look at what has been done with her in our gas. We deal with this by an overreaction. We ignore her. In other words, we do not need to venerate her in some semi-divine being, but we do need to see her as one of the great figures in the story of faith. In other words, Mary does have a rightful place to be recognized and revered. She is one of the great figures of faith in the same way that Abraham is, or Isaiah, or Paul is, or Peter, in that same sort of thing. She is worthy of respect. And when you look at the Catholic tradition and what has happened to Mary, you cannot help but be aghast at what evangelicals have done to the field of eschatology. Notice that. I just took a quantum leap from Mariology to eschatology. We are guilty within the evangelical tradition of our own version of a theological monstrosity. We don't worship Mary. We have done that to eschatology. The issue is not whether Jesus will return again. The issue is not whether there will be a final judgment. The issue is not whether there will be a final parting of the damned from the presence of God. The danger is that in our zeal to describe the end and the unfolding of the events, we have gone from speculation to speculation on speculation to speculation on speculation on speculation to speculation on speculation on speculation on speculation. I think you kind of get my drift at that point. And so we have created our own theological monstrosity to rival the Catholics and their doctrine of Mary. And if you look at what has happened in the doctrine of Mary in the Catholic tradition, and you see what speculation does, it leads to a destruction of a part of our theology and our heritage that needs to be real and vital. The danger we face in the evangelical church is the danger of destroying the credibility of the doctrine of the return of Jesus Christ by our unduly and ungodly and unbiblical speculation and speaking where there is no answers to be had, and instead of being content that when Jesus comes, he will let us know. Jesus in our verse here says that there will be speculation about his return. There will be wild claims about him here and there. We will never be rid of this. What we need to do is keep our eyes firmly on him. We need to see that what counts is obedience, not the deciphering of the mysteries therein. What we need is a return to the true meaning of Jesus' return. It means that there will be a day of judgment. It means that all of us will be held accountable for what we did with him, including those within the walls of the church. The words of the prophet Amos still hold true several millennia later. Woe to you who long for the day of the Lord. Why do you long for the day of the Lord? That day will be darkness and not light. That is Amos chapter 5, verse 18, New International Version.